Welcome back to Orange Therapy on YouTube. Today we're going to talk about a few of the many cognitive distortions that can cause difficulty in our lives. Stay with me, let's learn together. Today I'm going to explore two of the many cognitive distortions that exist. Just to be clear, we all engage in cognitive distortions. We have to. Remember, our brains are those quick meaning-making machines, so we are often jumping to conclusions or overgeneralizing. But they create difficulties when we use them a lot or when we allow them to entirely inform our decisions, when we take our thoughts as absolute proof that things are going on. The first of the two cognitive distortions that I'm going to explore today is catastrophizing. And catastrophizing is a little bit like, for my northern friends, a snowball. When you are making a snowman, the snowball starts out small and then it rolls and it rolls and it rolls and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it's this monstrous thing that stops me from doing something or that is proof that something bad is going to happen. Look at it like this. I had a young, overachieving client in front of me, and they hadn't known an answer to a question in the classroom, and they instantly went into this catastrophizing cycle. I didn't know the answer to that question, so I'm going to fail the next test. And because I fail that next test, I'm going to do poorly in the class. And because I do poorly in the class, I'm not going to get the placement that I need to next year. And then I'm not going to get into the classes in middle school that I want to. I'm not going to be in the honors classes in a high school that I need to. Yes, this was an elementary school kid that was doing this. And then because I don't get into the honors classes, I'm not going to get into the colleges I want to do. And that's going to mean that I can't become the lawyer that I want to be, because they didn't have an answer to a question in class. Can you understand how that would cause anxiety to rise up in a person? So how do we battle this? We need to first recognize that it's happening. And a lot of these cognitive distortions is going to start right there. We need to notice that it's happening. So I notice that I am catastrophizing. I notice that I'm creating this snowball in my mind. I notice, first of all, number one, I notice that it is happening. Once I notice that it is happening, I can back myself up. I don't know that this is going to happen next, and this is going to happen next, and this is going to happen next. If we take it back to the example that I discussed a moment ago, for this young person to recognize I don't always know the answers to everything, even though I'm really smart. Sometimes I need to learn more before I know it, but when I study, I do well on tests. One instance of not knowing an answer doesn't mean that all of these dominoes are going to fall, right? So I need to first notice, and then I need to address, this isn't what's happening. Let's take it back. Let's take it back to the reality of it. I didn't know the answer to one question. Maybe for a mom it's different. You text your children and they don't respond right away. So because they didn't respond, something bad is going to happen. They went for a drive, they got in an accident, they're dead in a ditch. That's why they're not messaging me back. Take it back, right? There are lots of things that can be happening. I notice that I am doing this. I sent a text. Let me give them some time to answer. The second cognitive distortion that I'd like to discuss today is jumping to conclusions. And I like to say to my clients, if jumping to conclusions burned calories, I would be exactly the size I wanted to be, because this happens to be my favorite. And by favorite, I don't mean I like doing it, but it is the one that I tend to go to. And I have to recognize for myself. When we jump to conclusions, we take in one piece of information and we draw a conclusion, usually a negative one, from that one thing that happened. Like my example that I gave last week of my friend dropping behind, and I jumped to the conclusion she did not want to be my friend anymore, right? We can see somebody enter a room and it might be a friend and they don't come over and talk to us and they walk right through, and we've jumped to the conclusion that they're angry with us. Or we see our boss out in public and they don't acknowledge us, and we jump to the conclusion that they have bad news for us on Monday. And we might even go into catastrophizing. Not only do they have bad news for us, they're going to pull me into the office and I am going to be fired. And then I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. I'm going to be living on the street, right? So we need to back up. I notice that I'm thinking this. And then, before jumping to conclusions, the only information I had when my friend dropped behind was that my friend dropped behind. I needed to ask some clarifying questions, and that sometimes takes a lot of bravery, a lot of courage to be able to ask questions of people to clarify what it is we're seeing so that we can clear that up. All right? So I want to encourage you, notice this week, are you catastrophizing? Are you making that big snowball out of one thing? Are you jumping into the future with all of these many things that are going to happen based on this one little piece? We need to notice we're doing it and take it back and go, okay, so I didn't know the answer to that question. I'm going to learn. It doesn't mean all these things are going to happen, right? I can step in and learn. And when I find myself jumping to conclusions, I notice that I have jumped to a conclusion based on one piece of information. I need to ask some clarifying questions. In the coming weeks, we'll be exploring more cognitive distortions. I want to thank you for being here with me today, and I look forward to you joining me next time, where we can learn more together. Thank you so much to those of you who have liked, subscribed, and shared this YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate you doing that. If you haven't done so already, please do so. And thank you again for joining me at Orange Therapy on YouTube, where you are welcome, just as you are.